Hello, and welcome back to the Wrestling Rant. If you can't tell, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view really sucked. But I'm going to go over it because that's what I do. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view from Sunday, June 29th, 2014, from Boston, Massachusetts. And that right there should tell you what happens. Boston. Anyways, the kickoff starts with the panel, and as I announced, I think it was the SmackDown video, Josh Matthews was released for some reason. So he is obviously no longer hosting the kickoff panel. Guess who is? Renee Young. Okay. She's there with, of course, Booker T and Alex Riley, who are fucking always there, and their guest for tonight, Christian. Whatever. They cut over to Tom Phillips, who is in the social media lounge, taking up Renee's old job. Pfft, who gives a fuck? And then what we get is a video package that essentially recaps the entire storyline leading up to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship ladder match. And at first it's focusing mainly on Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania, and then of course being injured by Kane, the neck injury, and them having to strip him of the title, and then everybody in the match, yada yada yada. So we get the video package for this. We cut back to the panel where some dick walks in front of the camera. That was really all that was of note there. And then they cut over to Byron Saxton, who of course is in the locker room, with Roman Reigns, who cuts a decent promo. And then they do a let's look at it by the numbers video package for the Money in the Bank match. And normally they do the numbers video for the Royal Rumble, so I thought this was kind of strange. Who cares? We cut back to the panel, and they basically give their predictions for the Money in the Bank contract match. Who cares? Moving on. We get a recap from last year's Money in the Bank match of Randy Orton winning and then cashing it in on Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam after Bryan had beaten John Cena. And then this was basically a commercial. It looked like they were doing some, goodbye tribute video to Vicky Guerrero, but it turns out it's just like a commercial for this thing they're going to be doing on the WWE Network called the Cougar Countdown. I guess it's supposed to be like the top 10 moments of Vicky Guerrero's career. No reason to watch that, by the way. And we cut to Michael Cole, who is in the ring, and it's time for the interview with Daniel Bryan. He introduces Bryan, and Bryan comes out, and there's a Daniel Bryan chant, and Bryan has a mic, and he's like, shh. He's trying to tell the audience to shut up so he can talk, and they're like, no, and he's like, okay, fine, yes, and we do the chant thing. And Cole asks him, first off, what's the status of your neck, and do you know when you're going to be able to come back? And the short answer is, Bryan doesn't know when he's going to be able to come back. He says he still hasn't regained feeling in his arm, and, like I said, doesn't know when he'll be back, but he is going to come back, and he's going to regain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And as they hyped up, people were able to tweet questions that they wanted Bryan to answer And let's see, he answers 2 of them. They're basically just stupid. Who gives a fuck? And then, for some strange reason, Bo Dallas's music hits. And he comes out. And he has a microphone. He says, "Hey, buddy." Just trolling like the piece of shit that he is. He basically says, all you have to do is believe for your comeback and everything. And Brian says, "You know what? I appreciate that you're rooting for me and all this shit, but I don't remember exactly how he put it, but he says, I don't really think you're a Bo-lever or something like that." He calls him a boner. Boner, boner, boner. Boner. Which actually draws a boner chant from the crowd. And then he tells Bo to leave. "I think, Bo, you need to leave." Yeah, which is what I've been saying the whole time about Bo. Anyways, we cut over to the panel again, and it's interrupted by the Wyatt cut. And it starts with Harper talking about the Usos, and Rowan ends the promo by saying, "Run." And that's the end of the pre-show, the kickoff, and that cuts into the pay-per-view. And that whole thing with the Wyatts, or the not the Usos, Harper and Rowan, becomes kind of funny after what ends up happening. Anyways, the pay-per-view starts, we get the intro video, and then we get some nice pyro. And then the Usos music hits, and they come out first. And I was thinking, oh great, well that doesn't bode well for them, the champions are coming out first. And then we get the Wyatt cut. And I'm thinking, oh god, here comes that god-awful music that they had on Raw. No. Cut to a sound clip of the child choir singing "Whole World in His Hands." Remember from a couple months back or whatever the fuck it was. That goes on for a few seconds, and then it does the cut again. And then some new music starts playing. It's kind of like, oh god, how to describe it? Like hillbilly rock, if you maybe call it bluegrass, I don't know. But it's like rock music that has that sort of hillbilly kind of twang to it, I don't know. But thankfully, it sounded better than that shitty music they had on Raw. So, I'm okay with this. And of course, Harper and Rowan come out in the darkness, pretty much to no reaction. And at the end of the entrance, there's another cut, and it blacks out, and then the lights come back on, and they're just standing in the ramp, or on the aisleway. There was no stage. What is it with WWE pay-per-views? They don't bother having stages on the pay-per-views anymore. No stage, no ramp. Just the whole aisleway is lined with ladders. The whole area up by the stage, or the Titantron and shit, that's all lined with ladders and shit. Hell, Harper and Rowan almost ran into them when they came out through the curtain. Anyways, so they're standing there in the aisle, and we get a recap from Raw 4 weeks ago, showing, I don't know, I guess it was a non-title match between the Usos and the Wyatts, and the Wyatts won. And then it also shows last Monday, let's see, it was the 2 singles matches. The one Wyatt won, and then the one Uso won. Who gives a fuck? We get the match. And the match was at least alright. So yeah, the Usos versus Harper and Rowan for the tag team titles. What ends up happening, or the story of the match, I guess, is Jey Uso is legal. He tries to go up to the top rope to do like a moonsault or something. He was facing backwards, basically. And he gets shoved off the top rope by Rowan, and he flies and crashes down on the barricade, so he's wiped out. And then that, of course, leads to a hot tag. He's finally able to tag in Jimmy. And, let's see. There was a spot where Jimmy super kicks Harper in the face twice, because the first one wasn't enough to put him down. He nails it again, and that wipes Harper out. Somebody dives and takes out Rowan. Oh, right. Let's see. I think Jay had tried to, cross-body Rowan on the outside of the ring. But Rowan caught him and had him in his arms. Jay hits the ropes from the ring and comes running, dives over the top rope on top of both of them to wipe out Rowan. Whatever. Back in the ring, Harper hits a Batista bomb on Jimmy, I think. Only got a 2 with it. The moron crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome." And I'm like, really, motherfuckers? This match is not that damn good. It's alright, but it's not awesome. Harper does a suicide dive on one of the Usos, wipes him out. The other Uso tries to do a suicide dive, but he gets caught by Rowan. And, yeah. The Wyatts, I guess they have a new finishing move. And it's... let's see. It's basically like the high time that Chronic did, only not really. Instead of it being like a double choke slam spine buster sort of thing, they lift him up by his armpits. Like, they got one hand in his pit and the other hand on his arm, so they lift him up like a cross, and then they slam him down. They hit that, but the pin gets broken up by the other Uso. Whatever. We build to a spot where Rowan, for some reason, thinks he's going to fly from the top rope. He goes up top, and he gets crotched. And he fights off the one Uso, but then both of the Usos come in, and they end up double-team superplexing Rowan off the top rope. And, let's see, after that, one of the Usos, the legal Uso, goes up to the top rope. The illegal one tags himself in. The first Uso comes flying, hits the big splash. Then the other Uso goes up to the top rope, and he jumps down and hits the splash too. So 2 splashes, 1, 2, 3, and the Usos retain. And the crowd's dead because they wanted the fucking Wyatts to win. Stupidly, but whatever. I don't really care. So there's my first missed prediction. I thought the Harper and Rowan were going to win for sure. Whatever, who cares? Moving on. We get a recap of Seth's betrayal of the Shield, of course, and then we get a recap from last Monday of when Rollins was just about to beat RVD, but then Ambrose came in to beat the piss out of him. And also it shows Triple H agreeing to add Ambrose to the Money in the Bank contract ladder match. And then we cut to somewhere, I guess, basically in the bowels of the arena. There's Ambrose, and he cuts a promo. And basically his dilemma is, should I go for the briefcase, or should I bash Rollins' face in? Case or face? And then he says, why not both? I'm going to use that briefcase to bash Rollins' face in. It was a good promo. And I'm thinking, okay, this is leading up. They're going to do the contract ladder match. Nope. The Funkadactyls music hits, and out come the 2 of those whores. Naomi, of course, being accompanied by Cameron. And they get no reaction from the crowd, by the way, because nobody cares about these 2 bimbos. Neither one of them can wrestle for shit. Neither one of them can talk for shit. And really, you don't have either one of those. What the fuck are you doing in this business? Go back to being a gymnast, or whatever the fuck Cameron was doing before she got hired. We get a recap from Main Event. I guess this was a couple of weeks ago or something, where Naomi actually beat Paige in a non-title match, and that's why Naomi has this title match. Paige's music hits and she comes out and we get the damn match. This match went on for way too fucking long and was just dull as hell. It was still an okay match though, I guess. Naomi dives on Paige. Oh, right. Paige was on the outside of the ring. Naomi came running, and she didn't do a suicide dive, but she did an over-the-top rope, kind of like a slingshot splash. Because, of course, she's not talented enough to actually do a suicide dive or come running and just completely leap the top rope. No. There was that. There was some more bullshit. They go up to the top rope. It looked like, I think, Paige was going to superplex Naomi. But what ended up happening, I don't know if this was a botch or if this was supposed to happen, but it looked like Naomi slipped and fell out of the ring and basically dragged Paige with her. So they both spill out of the ring all the way to the floor. So, again, not sure if that was a botch or if that was supposed to happen. It didn't look too good, though. Back in the ring, Paige locks in the stump puller on Naomi. And for those of you who don't know, the stump puller was the submission finisher of Doink the Clown way back when he first debuted in the WWF. At first when Paige started going for it, I thought she was going for a triangle headlock. Because she got Naomi up by the head, wrapped her leg around her head, and then she grabs her leg and yanks it upwards and starts yanking on her leg, you know. That's the stump puller, basically. So, yeah. She does that. I guess Naomi was able to get out of it somehow. I don't know how, because she's a hack of a wrestler. And what ends up happening is Naomi actually manages to hit the rear view, as she calls it, or the jumping ass to the face. Since that giant ass of hers is all she has, I'm gonna hit you in the face with it. She might as well do the stink face in the corner, or the Usos running ass womp. I don't fucking care. But she hits the rear view. Only gets a 2. Because, of course, you know, that move basically got downgraded after Naomi started using that inverted DDT thing. But she only gets a 2 on it. She gets Paige down in the corner, and then she goes for her split-leg moonsault, but Paige gets their knees up and blocks it. And what ends up happening is Naomi goes to do that inverted DDT, but Paige counters out of it, counters around, gets her up like a suplex, cradles her, and plants her with a DDT. So she hits a cradle DDT. And she pins her, 1, 2, 3. So Paige wins and retains the title. Thank God, because Jesus Christ, Naomi shouldn't ever win anything ever. And by the way, Cameron was just sitting at ringside. Not really sitting, she was just kind of propped up against the apron. Didn't really give a fuck the whole match. She almost seemed to be rooting for Paige at times, because every time Naomi was doing good, she was just like, yawn, I'm so bored. And I'm like, bitch, you're always bored. You're just a boring bitch. But anyways, after the match, Cameron gets in the ring and checks on Naomi. She's like coddling her like, oh, are you okay? Aw. And the two of them get the fuck out of the ring while Paige is celebrating. And they all leave. So Cameron doesn't betray Naomi, which is what they were teasing. So apparently we get to put up with more shit between the Funkadactyls, like they haven't drawn this crap out enough as it is. Anyways, moving on. We get another talking segment with the panel. Who cares? They show the numbers video again. And then I think it's like this pan flute sort of thing. I think it was like the national anthem or whatever it was. But yes, of course, the fucking joke here is it's Paul Revere. Damian Sandow. Yeah. Sandow comes out, and he's talking about the Rosebuds and Adam Rose. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck brought this up. This match was not announced before the pay-per-view. And by the way, you may have noticed on my predictions video, they actually did add a couple of matches to the official card just a few hours before the pay-per-view started. And I kind of added my predictions for those two in the description. Let's see, they added a tag match between Stardust and Goldust versus Rybaxel. And they also added Summer Rae versus Layla with Fandango as the referee. And, yeah, you may have been able to read that I predicted Stardust and Goldust to win their match, as well as Layla to win her match. I won't spoiler those two just yet, because we'll get to them in good time. But I'll tell you what, had I known about this Sandow versus Adam Rose match, which is what they're getting to, by the way, had I known about it in advance, since Adam Rose hasn't lost yet, I would have predicted he was going to win. Which, by the way, that's what happens. I'll just breeze through that. Like I said, I want to breeze through this shit. I got other crap I need to do, so I really don't fucking want to waste my time with this crap. But yeah, Sandow's talking about the Rosebuds. I don't know why or whatever. Rose comes out with his Rosebud. We get a match, and I suppose it was an okay match. Oh, good lord, this Adam Rose crap. Rose slaps Sandow on the ass, and then, this is some stupid shit. Rose is in the corner, I think. Or no. Sandow whips Rose into the corner, and they do the kind of classic spot where the guy kind of springs off the corner to kind of jump over the other guy as he comes in, but no. He lands with his ankles on Sandow's shoulders. I don't know what this thing is actually called, but it's like a Brazilian dance kind of thing. Like, usually it's a chick will put her legs or her ankles up on a dude's shoulders and then kind of use her legs to pull the dude's head into her ass. This weird Brazilian butt-humping thing. Rose does that to Sandow. So he rams Sandow's face into his own ass. What kind of gay shit is this, man? Where the fuck is Leo Kruger at, damn it? I'd rather have that than this horse shit. Whatever. Sandow manages to get Rose down, and he's actually beat the crap out of him fairly good, and I'm thinking, like, is Sandow actually going to win this? But he gets Rose down, and he's, like, tuning up for the elbow of disdain, but he calls out, "The elbow is coming! The elbow is coming!" You know, of course, the Paul Revere, the British is coming. No, it's the elbow is coming. And then he hits the elbow drop. He ends up hitting the "You're Welcome," the full Nelson bomb, you know. He hits that, but he only gets a 2. And that's pretty much Sandow's finisher. So, Rose just kicked out of your finisher, you're losing, pretty much. What ended up happening, let's see. Don't know what the fuck. Oh yeah. Sandow went for a springboard moonsault off the second rope. Landed on his knees, because Rose got out of the way. And of course, Rose jumps up, grabs Sandow by the head, plants him with the party foul, and wins the match. And the crowd don't fucking care. They're dead again. Rose leaves with his rosebuds, his fisted assholes. This gimmick sucks. We cut over to the commentators who explain that after what happened on SmackDown, and I went over this in my SmackDown video, after what happened on SmackDown, Wade Barrett is injured. And so he will not be able to compete in the contract ladder match. So we are now down a guy, and nobody's replacing him. We cut to a conveyor belt of promos by all of the participants in the contract ladder match. First, Rollins, who is basically just boring. Basically what he says is, Plan A is I win. And there's always a Plan B, but Plan B is I win. It was really fucking boring. RVD has a promo, and he's basically stoned. I don't give a fuck. Kofi has a promo. He's lame. Don't give a fuck. Ziggler cuts a promo. He's actually comes off as cool. I liked his promo. And then there's Zeb Coulter talking by himself. And I'm like, you're not in this match, motherfucker. Shut up. Let Swagger talk. Swagger comes in and they do a We the People. And I'm just like, you're racist. Go away. Fuck off. And now we're finally getting to the damn contract ladder match. Rollins' generic-ass metal music hits and he comes... And I like metal music, and I don't even like his music, okay? So, seriously, this motherfucker needs some better music. What happened to his theme that he was using in FCW? I'm trying to remember the name of the band. I can't remember it. But the name of the song is Battle On. You know what? That would have been nice, but I guess, that's too much of a face theme. So, not only that, but I don't know if they have the rights to use that. That's probably why he stopped using it in the first place. Same music he was using in Ring of Honor, by the way. Anyways, he comes out to no reaction. RVD comes out, and then Swagger comes out with Zeb Coulter, and I had to make a note. Swagger's wearing a new shirt. It's a plain black t-shirt with an outline of his arm and hand when he puts his hand over his heart to do the We the People. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That is the stupidest goddamn thing ever. And the motherfucker, him and Zeb, they do the We the People thing, and his hand goes right over the outline. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Stupid motherfucker. Ziggler comes out to a big pop, and then Kofi comes out, and then Ambrose comes out to another big pop, and he goes right after Rollins. So the match is immediately on, and he's just beating the piss out of Rollins. So the match starts and actually turns out to be good. It's the only good match on the card, by the way. There was an interesting spot. Kofi had climbed to about the top of the ladder, but it gets pushed over by somebody. I don't remember who exactly. But as the ladder's tipping over, Kofi jumps off, springboards off the ropes, and continues moving forward, dives out of the ring on top of like 3 or 4 guys who were out at ringside. So he actually turned it into an offensive move instead of just splatting on the floor. Whatever. Ambrose hits a butterfly suplex on Rollins onto a ladder that had been propped up against the corner. Ladder ram spot by Rollins. Okay. Who was it? I think it was Kofi and Ziggler were fighting on the one side of a ladder. They had the big ladder set up in the middle of the ring. Kofi and Ziggler were standing next to the ladder. They weren't on it, but they were standing next to the ropes. Rollins grabs another ladder, rams it in between the legs of the ladder that sets up, and uses it to hit both Ziggler and Kofi in the face. And so he wipes them out. And I'm like, okay, well that was kind of neat. RVD ends up beating the shit out of a bunch of people. He gets a ladder, wedges it in the corner on the bottom rope. And then he kind of picks up Rollins and slams him onto it to put him there. He goes across to the opposite corner, comes rolling, and he does the Rolling Thunder on top of it, so whatever the fuck. RVD ends up hitting the 5-star frog splash on Swagger, who had been knocked down. And then, let's see, Swagger and Rollins were fighting. Rollins was on the top rope, or maybe it was RVD, I can't remember. Swagger sets up the big ladder in the corner. He grabs the guy that was on the top rope. I don't remember who it was. He grabs him and pulls him up to the top of the ladder, trying to, like, superplex him off. But what ends up... Or no. Swagger set up the ladder, and I think he was trying to suplex RVD off. But RVD countered somehow. Or no. What the fuck? Swagger had set the ladder up. RVD was trying to suplex Rollins off of the ladder. Swagger came up behind RVD and powerbombed RVD off the top. Well, from the ladder. So RVD is wiped out. And I think Swagger was taken out by somebody, but Rollins was still up towards the top of the ladder. And then Ambrose comes scurrying up, and he grabs Rollins, and he superplexes Rollins off the ladder. And then there was an interesting spot. Ambrose hit somebody with a ladder, but then he got... Oh yeah, I think Ziggler got in the ring, drop-kicked the ladder into Dean's face. And so Ambrose falls back, still holding the ladder. He's kind of propped up by the ropes, but the ladder is on him. And somebody threw Ziggler into the ladder, kind of crushing Ambrose up against the ropes. So they both get wiped out by that. Swagger knocks Kofi down, puts a ladder on top of him, and then he comes running, springs off the corner, and does the Swagger bomb, which kills him too. And, okay, then we get a storyline spot. Let's see. Ambrose was trying to climb the ladder. Him and Rollins were probably fighting, and then Rollins, I think, got knocked off. But that left Ambrose towards the top of the ladder. Swagger came from behind to try to pull Ambrose down. He yanks him off, but Ambrose falls, grabs Swagger by the head, falls back, and plants him with a DDT. But then Ambrose starts selling his shoulder. The same shoulder that had been supposedly hurt by Bray Wyatt, yada yada yada. So medics come in and they're looking at Ambrose and they're like, your shoulder is hurt. And he's like trying to kick him away, like, no, I can still fight. But of course, medics and referees come out and they're like, you have to leave, we have to look at you. And so he has to leave. The frickin' big face of the match has to fucking leave. Of course, that's a classic spot, though. Still sucks. Yeah, the medics take him out of the match. Rollins was trying to, I guess, go for the briefcase. RVD and Kofi end up on top. Or no. What happened was, we've got the big ladder set up. And I think Kofi sets a smaller ladder, and he teeters it in between the ropes, and wedges the top of it in one of the rungs of the ladder. So Rollins and RVD are on the top of the ladder, and Kofi comes up from the other side from his little walkway that he created with the other ladder. Yada yada. Rollins gets backdropped from the ladder, I think by Kofi, because I think RVD got taken out somehow. But Kofi backdrops Rollins off the top onto the ladder, the other ladder that had been propped up. He bounces off of it, it slips out of the rung and falls down, and Rollins almost landed on his freaking head. Ziggler comes in and cleans house of frickin' everybody. He wound up hitting a zigzag on Kofi onto a ladder. So that killed the both of them, but I'm like, Jesus, did it fucking look awesome. Ziggler tries to climb the ladder to go for the briefcase, but then Swagger comes in and grabs Dolph by the leg and locks in the Patriot lock. And he's like trying to pull him down the ladder, but Ziggler's using his arms to try and pull himself back up. He finally gets kind of close to the top of the ladder and he's able to free himself. He kicks Swagger off. And Dolph's looking... They're really fucking being dicks about this, teasing Dolph might win. But what ends up happening is Rollins comes back in from out of nowhere with a chair and wails on Ziggler and knocks him off the ladder. And the crowd starts chanting, "We want Ambrose." And sure enough, they get a wide shot, and then the crowd hits their feet and they start cheering, "Here comes Ambrose back." Rollins was at the top of the ladder. Ambrose grabs the same chair and he starts wailing on Rollins. Rollins falls down. Ambrose is still wailing on him with the fucking chair. And he goes to climb up. And he's still selling his hurt shoulder, so he's kind of climbing with one arm. And he gets about to the top. He's reaching for the briefcase. And then all of a sudden, the corner posts explode with Kane's pyro. Kane comes running down. And he starts trying to grab Ambrose off of the ladder. Ambrose is at first just kicking him in the head, trying to fight him off. But finally, Kane grabs him, pulls him down off the ladder, grabs him by the throat, picks him up and choke slams him. And he picks him up again, and he tombstones him. Really weak looking tombstone, by the way. Kane holds the ladder while Rollins climbs up and grabs the briefcase and wins. So, I was correct in my prediction. He was my first choice, as you'll remember. But I kind of figured maybe he'd win by himself. No, he needed help because he's a bitch. Rollins starts leaving, he's going up the aisleway, and then King of Kings hits. And out comes Triple H and Stephanie to celebrate with Rollins. Kane's already bailed, by the way. So yeah, Triple H and Stephanie celebrate with Rollins. Moving on. We cut backstage to the interview area, where there's Byron Saxton, and he's interviewing Randy Orton. And Randy cuts a promo, it's boring shit, and Randy goes to leave, but then Byron's like, well, wait a minute, Randy. What about Roman Reigns? Because Randy hadn't really mentioned him in his promo. And Randy just kind of looks at him, gives him the stink eye, basically. And then he turns and leaves anyways, and Byron's just like, okay, never mind, thanks for your time. So, yeah. Rybaxel's music hits, and they come out to no reaction. And while they're coming out, we get a recap of Stardust's debut from Raw a couple weeks ago. And then Stardust's music hits and him and Goldust come out. And so we get this match between these two. It was fairly boring. I swear. There's a Goldberg chant directed at Ryback, of course. And what ends up happening is Ryback gets Stardust up for the shell shock. But Cody slips out of it and goes into the crossroads, and he hits it. And I think what happened was Axel broke up the pin. And then Axel got tagged in, only to get rolled up by Cody for the 1-2-3. So Stardust and Goldust win. Axel attacks Cody immediately, but ends up taking the snapshot from Cody and Goldust. Now, the snapshot, for those of you who may not remember, was the team finishing move of Eminem, Mercury, and Nitro. Johnny Nitro. This is from way back. Basically what it is the one guy will lift the victim up like a spine buster, but kind of lean him backwards, almost like the 3D. Then the other guy will grab him by the head and plant him with a DDT, while the other guy falls backwards. That's the snapshot. But they hit this on Axel. So apparently that's their new team finisher. Don't know what the fuck they're gonna call it. Call it the Dustbuster, I don't know. And then they show a commercial essentially for the Battleground pay-per-view, which is going to be on July 20th in Tampa, Florida. Moving on. We get a recap of the feud between Layla and Summer Rae. It shows Layla getting the milk dumped on her, and then Summer getting the cat litter dumped on her. Yada, 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 yada. We cut back to the interview area, where there's Byron Saxton again, this time with Fandango, who's wearing a referee shirt. And I think Byron asks him, like, how do you feel about this love triangle between you, Layla, and Summer? And Johnny just says, I love triangles. Layla comes up and she starts talking, and then Summer comes up and they do their catty shit. They basically get into a slap fight. Johnny gets in between them and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Save it for the match, ladies. And that's pretty much it. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have this match next. Nope. We cut to Justin Roberts introducing Rusev and Lana. They come out to Rusev's music to no reaction. And then Lana starts talking. And by the way, did you notice that Lana spelled backwards as anal? Yeah. Anyways. She talks and to do more Putin shit, and I don't fucking care. And Rusev actually talks. And then Big E comes out, and while he's coming out, they show a picture-in-picture promo of his. Yada, yada, yada. We get the match between these two. And it was okay, I guess. Early on in the match, Rusev is on the apron, and so Big E tries to do his apron spear that he's been doing. Rusev stops it by lifting his knee up, cracking Big E in the face. So that basically wiped Big E out for a minute. Big E comes back with the Samoa Joe spot out of the corner. And then he finally manages to hit the apron spear. But this looked rough. He spears Rusev through the ropes off the apron, and it looks like Big E comes down, lands right on his head, like almost like Rusev caught him and DDT'd him on the way down. So Big E was kind of out of it after this. Apparently Rusev was bleeding from the mouth. I didn't really see it much, but whatever. Rusev comes back. He manages to hit that big jumping super sidekick thing. He locks in the Accolade. And Big E tries to fight out of it, but I think Rusev just sat down on him or whatever and cinches it back in even tighter. And so Big E has to tap out. And so Rusev wins just like I predicted. Him and Lana standing there with their arms up. Stupid flag blows up and comes down from the rafters. Dog shit. Moving on. We get a recap of the segment with Daniel Bryan from the pre-show and Bo coming up and everything. Whatever. We cut backstage and there's the Bella twins. And I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't the one quit? What is she doing here? And by the way, the real reason for that actually happening is she's actually pregnant. Or at least that's what I've heard. Stephanie comes up and she says, what is she doing here? Referring to Brie, of course, because she doesn't work here anymore, supposedly. Bitch, 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 bitch. And Brie says, I was just showing Nikki my new favorite video, and she pulls up her phone to show it to Stephanie, and magically the camera cuts to showing basically a recap of Steph getting thrown in the mud by Vicky from Raw. Okay. We come back to reality, and Stephanie calls for security. They take Brie away, whatever, and then Stephanie basically just says, Nikki, you need to keep your sister the hell out of here, because she doesn't work here no more. Don't fucking care, Stephanie, will you go fuck yourself? Moving on. Fandango's music hits, and he comes out in his referee shirt, which they actually show. It's actually got like bedazzles down the black stripes, and on the back he actually has the Fandango logo. And I was like, that's just fucking great. Summer's terrible music hits, and she comes out to no reaction. And then Fandango's music hits again, and Layla comes out to no reaction. We get a match between these two, and it was pretty weak sauce. The only noteworthy things, mainly the whole thing of this match was it was a total comedy match. They would keep doing things, and Johnny as the referee would kind of get distracted. Like, let's see, Summer had Layla in the corner, and she was doing the "I'm gonna choke you with my foot" spot. And Johnny's supposed to count, because, you know, that's kind of illegal. He starts counting, he goes 1, 2, 3, and then he just kind of stops to look at Summer's legs, and I'm like, really? They're not that fucking nice, dude. Whatever. More stupid things like that. There was one spot where Layla pushed Summer into Johnny. Johnny catches her, and they look like they're about to kiss. But then Layla grabs Summer and starts beating the piss out of her. What ends up happening is Layla hits the chick kick, the big roundhouse kick to the head on Summer, knocks her out. Layla covers her. Johnny counts 1, 2, 3. Very fair count. Was nothing underhanded about it. He counts 1, 2, 3. Layla wins. And then Layla's old music, or should I say Michelle McCool's music, hits. The "You're Not Enough For Me." That music sucks, by the way. I hate Michelle McCool, and I hated Layla back then too. I still don't really care for her now. But that music hits for some reason. Pfft, whatever. And then Johnny grabs Layla and they make out. And then Johnny's music starts playing, the Fandango music. And I'm like, okay, well, at least that music doesn't suck. The two of them leave. And Summer's left crying in the ring. And no one fucking cares. Moving on. Oh, right, and there was a CM Punk chant during the match. I forgot to mention that. That was the only other thing that was noteworthy about the match. We get a replay of the stupid Money in the Bank, the title ladder match recap thing with Bryan having the title and then being stripped of it and yada yada, all the shit. Yeah, that video plays again. And so it's looking like it's time for the ladder match for the title. King of Kings hits again. And out come Triple H and Stephanie again. And I'm like, why the fuck are they coming out? To watch the match. They sit at ringside over by the commentators. Ugh. They come out to no reaction, by the way, of course. And then Sheamus comes out, and then Bray Wyatt comes out, and then Alberto Del Rio comes out to no reaction, and then Cesaro comes out with Heyman, and then Cena comes out to a chorus of boos in his hometown, no less. And then Randy Orton comes out to no reaction, and then Roman Reigns comes out to a big pop, and then Kane comes out to no reaction. And what we proceed to get is another ladder match that's nowhere near as good as the last one. We got a big clusterfuck. Kane cleans house, and then Kane helps Randy up and tells him to climb the ladder, but Roman breaks it up. Cesaro and Sheamus end up hanging from the belts, but they both fall down. Sheamus and then Cesaro. And apparently Randy had been hurt. Apparently, I think somebody grabbed him and threw him headfirst into a ladder that was stood up. But apparently this cut Randy open. He spills out to the outside. He's getting looked at by the doctor. Apparently they tried to glue his wound shut. It didn't stay shut for long, by the way, because he wound up bleeding pretty bad by the end of the match. He got a nice little crimson mask for his trouble. Anyways, We get another ladder propped up in between the Spanish announce table and the apron. It was set up by Sheamus. Him and Randy are fighting, and what ends up happening is Sheamus stands on the ladder for some reason. Gets his legs swept out from beneath him by Randy. He lands on his back. Randy grabs him and does the hung DDT on him from off the ladder thing. We get another clusterfuck on the ladder. Oh yeah, there was the one big tall ladder set up in the ring, and everybody is scrambling to try and run up this thing, and everybody else is trying to pull them back down. And I'm like, you fucking tards, there's 4 other big ladders in the 4 corners of the ringside area. Grab one of those and bring it into the ring, or grab one of the smaller ones and start whacking people with it. You don't need to clusterfuck like this. This is stupid. Shit segment, or shit fucking spot. Stupid as fuck. Whatever. House gets cleaned, and Sheamus gives his hung on the rope clubbing to Kane. Sheamus clears house, and he starts, let's see, I think he was there with Orton. And Sheamus is like, bro, I'm gonna kick motherfucker in the face. And then I see Cena roll into the ring. And Sheamus looks over and he's like, oh yeah. Cena gets up and he gets the fucking taste kicked out of his mouth by Sheamus. Sheamus brogue kicks the fuck out of Cena. And I'm pretty sure that got a big pop from the crowd. Let's see. There was a stupid fucking spot. They got the big ladder set up. Somebody else took another ladder, wedged it in one of the rungs, and just let it kind of hang. And so Cesaro and Sheamus were up towards the top of the ladder. Roman comes from behind, lifts the ladder up and tips it over, but the second ladder is propping it up. So it's just kind of tipped over a little bit. Cesaro's hanging from that side. Him and Sheamus fighting whatever the fuck. Let's see, oh yeah, Cena comes from the other side and tips the ladder back over so it's standing upright. And I'm like, why? Stupid fucker. Kane gets speared. Oh yeah, I think Reigns jumped through the middle of the ladder to spear Kane. And then Reigns gets hit with a ladder by Orton. Reigns ends up getting up, dishes out a couple of Superman punches to people. I think it was... Who the fuck was it that got throated on the ropes? I don't know. Either way, somebody gets throated on the ropes. Reigns goes out to try and do the apron dropkick. Bray tried to stop him, but he got thrown into the commentary table. Reigns hits the apron dropkick anyways. And then he spears Cesaro. And then it ends up, Reigns is alone in the ring. And then Cena comes in. And so the two face off. And they do the spot where they trade blows, and they cheer for Reigns and they boo for Cena. And they cheer for Reigns and they boo for Cena. You know, whatever the fuck. Cena ends up getting speared by Reigns. And then I think Roman was trying to climb the ladder, and Orton came in from behind him, grabbed him off the ladder, and hung him from the ladder, and did the back and neck breaker thing. And then Randy tries to climb, but Bray jumps into the ring, grabs Randy off, and hits him with the Sister Abigail. But then Bray gets kicked into the corner, eats the Enziguri kick from Del Rio, which puts Bray down onto his knees. Del Rio backs up and comes charging and hits the concussion kick, which wipes out Bray. And then Del Rio eats the brogue kick. And then Cesaro, let's see, Sheamus went to climb the ladder. Cesaro pulled him down, and as Sheamus was falling, Cesaro twists and uppercuts the fuck out of him, picks him up, lifts him up, hits the neutralizer on him. So Sheamus just gets annihilated by Cesaro here. Cesaro goes to climb. Randy grabs him by the leg, pulls him off, and as Cesaro is falling, Randy catches him RKO. And then we're left with Randy and Roman Reigns fighting. And Randy's bleeding, like I said. He got a nice little crimson mask about here. I think this was, let's see, they were both trying to climb the same side of the ladder, and they're both kind of like ramming each other's head into the ladder, and I think Randy got caught again, and that kind of split his gash back over. And then Roman even was like kind of fish hooking the gash, and I'm like, Jesus fucking, Roman's got blood all over his hand and shit. But anyways, Randy falls down, and it's looking like Roman's gonna win. Kane comes back in, grabs Roman off. Chokes, or no, he doesn't pull him off. He grabs him by the throat while he's still on the ladder, picks him and choke slams him off the ladder. And then Cena jumps in out of nowhere. Or no. I'm jumping ahead. So Kane chokeslams Reigns. Kane gets the ladder set up. And he's trying to hold it up so Randy can climb, because that's the whole story of this match, is Kane is basically just helping Randy. Cena comes out of nowhere, grabs Kane, lifts him up, hits the attitude adjustment. And then he grabs Orton off the ladder, gets him on his shoulders, and he gives Orton the attitude adjustment on top of Kane. And then Cena jumps up the ladder really quick, completely no-selling everything he's taken in this match. He grabs the hook with the two belts hanging from it, he unhooks it, and Cena fucking wins. Are you fucking kidding me? And I'm thinking, oh, please God, let Rollins cash in right now. At least that would be better than another Cena title reign. And Christ, when Cena won, they cut over to Stephanie and Triple H, and they're both like, oh, fuck, you know, ugh. They like face palm, basically. But no, Rollins don't come out. Cena just stands there on the top of the ladder. I win, motherfuckers. And the crowd, they're pretty much dead. This is horse shit. You couldn't just have Kane win to set up Bryan's return. No. Fucking idiots. That's the end of the pay-per-view. Like I said, it really pretty much sucked. So let's go over the matches one more time while I count up my predictions, whether I was right or wrong. There were no matches during the kickoff. The first match on the pay-per-view was the Usos successfully defending the tag team titles against Harper and Rowan, which I was wrong about that. I thought Harper and Rowan were a cinch to win. Oh well. I think I saw some backstage news that the Ascension is going to be coming up from NXT sometime soon, and they're going to challenge the Usos for the titles. So that should be interesting. Next match we got was Paige successfully defending the Divas title against Naomi, and I was right about that one. And then we got a unannounced impromptu match between Adam Rose and Damian Sandow, which Adam Rose won. That one wasn't even on my predictions, but like I said, had I known about it in advance, I probably would have predicted Rose. We won't count this one though, but who cares? Moving on. Up next, we got the Money in the Bank contract ladder match, which Rollins won. Which he was my first pick for that match, so I was right. And then we got the Dust Buddies, as I'm going to call them, or the Dust Brothers, I don't know. Stardust and Goldust defeating Rybaxel, and I did predict that, so I was right there. And then we got Rusev defeating Big E, which I predicted that as well. And then we got Layla defeating Summer Rae, which I predicted that as well. And then we got the fucking shitfest of a World Heavyweight Championship ladder match with John motherfucking bitch boy Cena winning. So I was wrong there. So I was only wrong about 2 matches. The other 5 I got right. And that's not counting, of course, the Adam Rose and Damian Sandow match. So that's 2 and 5 in the predictions. Well, 5 and 2. I got 5 correct. Who gives a fuck? This pay-per-view was not that great. I'll give them enough credit. They had a couple of decent matches. Like I said, the tag team title match was all right. Had some decent action. Paige and Naomi was okay for a Divas match, but it really just was not that good still. Rose and Sandow was okay, I thought. Still not that great, though. The contract Money in the Bank match was actually fairly good. Best match of the show. Obviously. Shit finish with fucking Kane helping Rollins win, but yeah, whatever. Ryback and the Dust Buddies was boring. Rusev and Big E was okay, I guess. Not really that great, but again, had some interesting action. That apron spear was sick. Jesus Christ. Layla and Summer, I completely forgot to write anything down, but that was because the match was just so fucking forgettable and stupid. Like I said, it was mostly a comedy match of them flirting with Johnny. And him like, ooh, look at them legs, look at Layla's ass, you know. Who gives a fuck? And then the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match was... Again, I didn't even write down a rating for it. Nowhere near as good as the other ladder match. Randy started bleeding, so that was cool. Cena wins. Just kick me in the nuts another few times while you're at it, you motherfuckers. Jesus. And it's bad when even your heel fucking authority figures facepalm when you win. Because even they're like, oh no, that sucks. Hopefully, we'll have a cash-in from Rollins tomorrow night on Raw. Although that's doubtful. Unless Kane and Orton and Triple H all just beat the holy hell out of Cena beforehand. Good Christ. John Cena is now a 15-time world champion. He is 1 away from tying Ric Flair's record. So help me God, he does not even deserve half of those title reigns. He doesn't deserve a single one of them. John Cena is the worst thing to happen to pro wrestling ever. He's worse than Hogan. He's worse than the fucking end of WCW, which is basically what kills the WWE doing anything good. He's worse than anything TNA does. Motherfuck. Who seriously booked this? They should be fired. Oh wait, it was probably Triple H and Stephanie. Yeah, they should be fired. I hate the fucking WWE right now. I really don't even know if I want to continue watching this shit. Because with Cena as champion, good Christ, he'll probably start the show tomorrow. The champ is here! Jerk yourself off some more, Cena, you fucking prick. Nobody likes you! Not real fans, at least. You have the kids, and you have the hormonal girls who just want to see your roid abs. We don't have any real fans. That was the Money in the Bank review. Overall, the show just wasn't that great. I'm guessing the reason they went with Cena winning the title instead of Kane is because they don't know when Bryan's going to be coming back. So, let's just have Cena have the damn title again, excuse me. Let's just have Cena have the damn title again, and he'll hold on to it until Bryan's getting ready to come back, and then somehow we'll have Kane win it. At this point, it's just not even worth it. Fuck the WWE. Anybody who bought tickets to Raw tomorrow night, I feel bad for you. I'd ask for a fucking refund already. I wouldn't even bother going. It would be the most hilarious thing in the world to tune into Raw tomorrow night and half the arena is empty. Because so many people just said, you know what, fuck you, Cena, we're not watching, we're not going to the show, fuck you, I'm going to get refund for my tickets and I'm going to... Fuck you. That would be the greatest thing ever. It'd be like that TNA pay-per-view. That would be great. Anyways, like I said, I need to get to something else, so we're done with this shit. That was Money in the Bank from June 29th, 2014, Boston, Massachusetts, Cena's fucking hometown, and even though the crowd fucking hated him, he still wins. Motherfuck. That's the show. Thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow night when we go over Raw. Christ, it's probably going to suck ass. But join us tomorrow for Raw. Thank you for watching. Good night.